Okay. I think we're live. So what we're gonna do today is just in case anyone's watching this, watch back or pre-back or preview, whatever it might be called. I'm going to be looking at the reveal for the new Shadowlands thing, because I have seen nothing except maybe one thing. The only thing I've seen, which was kind of, I don't know, spoiled, because when you open up the BattleNet, it does actually have the trailer right in front of it as the first thing you see, and it sort of slides through a couple of scenes inside the trailer. So I know what the subject is about, but I haven't actually seen what the thing is about, specifically. Something I want to comment on is that I watched this other YouTuber called Taliesin and Evital, I think it's called. And he guessed two guesses for what the trailer was going to be about. And I think he hit spot on one of them. He made a guess that either the trailer was going to be about the Lich King inviting all the leaders to his citadel. Hi, Scan. And from there, he was going to tell them that they needed to gather their armies because, the Shadowlands are coming or whatever. And then they're going to attack as they're doing the meeting. The second guess he had was that Sylvanas was going to meet up with the Lich King and tell him that there was this thing that they need to destroy, and therefore he needed to gather his armies. But I've also seen, there's a lot of leaks going on the internet. I've seen one specific leak where I think Wowhead themselves tried to data mine the starting zone for the Death Knights in the new expansion. And apparently Sylvanas is there. So with that in mind, and seeing that Sylvanas and the Lich King are in the trailer, she might become the new Lich King. I don't know. So let's go ahead and just start up the actual BlizzCon opening ceremony, and then we will watch the Shadowlands trailer at some point. I don't know if they will show it here. Yeah, they will. So they're going to show it during this thing as well. We just go ahead and check the audio, just like it's supposed to. Yeah. I think we can fast forward a little bit. We're not gonna go ahead and watch this. May contain content inappropriate for children. You have been warned. Okay. Because I know there's a few children watching my streams.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the moment you've all been waiting for.
We want to give a big BlizzCon welcome.
What is up, BlizzCon?
Ladies and gentlemen, BlizzCon.
Let me know if it's too loud.
Whoa, things just got real.
I am so stoked to be here.
Stick with us, and you'll never miss a moment.
It's time for our favorite part of BlizzCon.
Who's gonna take it all? That is the story.
Ladies and gentlemen out there, are you ready for the grand finals?
I really hope there's not going to be somebody spoiling things, like from the audience, bringing up Hong Kong or something. That would be stupid.
World champion. Be good to
Let us just enjoy it.
Welcome home.
I am from Chile.
From Toronto.
We're from Australia. I'm from Panama. From France.
Oh, that's Reforged. That's Warcraft 3. Are they gonna have a release trailer? Or like a release date?
Hey guys, welcome to the BlizzCon All Access channel. I'm Michelle Morrow alongside Malik Forte, and we're coming to you live from the Anaheim Convention Center for the epic event of the year, BlizzCon 2019. Malik, what is up? I'm so happy to have you here.
Yeah.
You excited or what?
Am I excited?
Yeah.
I don't know, Michelle. Does Winston love peanut butter on his bananas? Do I love Reaper?
Yes.
Is Sylvanas evil?
No!
Of course I'm ready.
He caught me.
got
We're
you
going to
there.
find out more about that soon. Hopefully, the fate of Sylvanas and
My
everything
girlfriend can relate
else.
to that
we
one.
are less than 20 minutes away from opening ceremony, and this was the scene just a few moments ago as Blizzard fans from all over the world converged on the Anaheim Convention Center.
Yeah,
There's
yeah, yeah.
people just lined up everywhere.
I saw People Eater there. It was real scary right there. But guys, if you want to make sure you don't miss a moment of this year's BlizzCon, you've come to the right place. We'll be here with you on the All Access channel for the next 2 days, bringing you all the big announcements, the developer panels, the talent and costume contests, and the closing night festivities as well.
And of course, as always, we're going to be sitting down with some of your favorite Blizzard executives and developers to dig even deeper into what's on the horizon for every franchise in the Blizzard universe. This is a big BlizzCon.
It's a big one, big one. All right, so our All Access Roman reporters are also back this year, and they'll be checking in throughout the next 2 days to give you a feel for what it's like out there on the convention center floor, starting right now with Anna Prosser, who's standing by with BlizzCon executive producer Sarah Lynn Smith.
Thanks so much, guys. I'm so excited for the opportunity to chat with Sarah Lynn Smith, the executive producer of BlizzCon. Sarah Lynn, this is your second year in this role. Tell me a little bit about what you were most excited about last year, and then as we go into this year, what you're most excited about here.
Oh, wow. Yeah, in 2018, I guess a big lesson was how much people love Lindsay Sterling. She was one of our closing performers, and she was actually our highest rated performer ever from the attendees. Wow. So yeah, I think it was a good indication for us that we want to have talent that are relevant for the community, that are in the gaming scene, so that was awesome. And then this year we have so much new stuff, and I'm really excited about the Blizzard Arcade, which is downstairs in Hall E. Hope everyone will check it out. It has new stuff, and it has some retro stuff we're really excited about. Also down there is our cinema, which we're hoping for families or anyone that doesn't want to see mature content, that they'll go down to the cinema in Hall E. But there's other things I can't.
They have
really
a place
talk about
specifically
yet that
for
we hope
children.
everyone will be super excited for.
Oh, I'm sure. There's always things that you can't tell us. Are there any hints or things that you want us to be ready for the opening ceremony? I know you can't give us any spoilers, but how should we prepare ourselves?
Oh my. Well, there will be big announcements. There'll be amazing cinematics, as always. We're going to be going from Hall D, then to Hall C and Hall B, so we'll have 3 stages involved with the overall production, and besides that, I probably shouldn't share anything.
Well, speaking of going from hall to hall, if people at home are watching with the virtual ticket, some people may not have grabbed theirs yet. What will they be getting, and what would they be missing if they don't have a virtual ticket?
Oh, okay, good question. So, well, first of all, the virtual ticket comes with all these in-game goodies. So this year we have like 2 Murloc pets in World of Warcraft, and this awesome onesie, like this Yeti onesie for WoW. We've got 2 legendary heroes for Overwatch, and so there's lots of in-game goodies to check out. But then also live at the show,
now my girlfriend's gonna start playing Overwatch because you can play Illidan.
If you can't actually be here in Anaheim, yeah. So we have additional 25 hours of content that people can watch just from the comfort of their home on their couch. So yeah, I hope that's a great experience.
Now, one thing I want to ask you, because we always talk about what Blizzard is bringing to BlizzCon, but you mentioned the community and making sure that things are relevant to them. What are you most excited that the community is going to bring here to BlizzCon to you?
Oh, that's by far my favorite part. The cosplay. I really just love the cosplay. I love community night. I love the March of the Murlocs. We did that for the first time last year. We really weren't sure how it was going to go, so we had 6 employees in onesies if we needed them, and then like hundreds of people showed up, so that was awesome. We're doing that again. We've even got the Pepe cosplay gathering, so all of that is adorable. I mean, I'm close to
the Pepe
making the show all
cosplay.
year, so I kind of know about the big things that Blizzard's doing, but I just love all weekend we'll be taking photos of what the community's bringing to the show. I love it.
Oh, I can't wait to see it, and I can't wait to see opening ceremony, so we're going to head that way right now, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, back to you guys.
Thank you, Anna and Sarah Lynn. She's keeping it tight-lipped, man.
I'm so hyped right now.
I know. Well, let's take a look. We've got a lot of great guests coming on the show today. Here's everybody lined up for the weekend. This is Friday.
Esports
here
Global
on the
Director.
pre-show, we're going to have Sam Braithwaite. He is the Esports Global Director.
John
So we're
Haidt,
gonna
is
find
that
out
the,
about everything going down with all the championship games happening.
No, that's not the
So
guy
we
who
can break
took
down
over.
some StarCraft, some Hearthstone.
I don't know all the
Warcraft,
names,
I want
so.
to
MTI
talk
Arena.
World Cup with him. That's going to be fun. That's going to be fun to see what he thinks about Overwatch World Cup.
Definitely, definitely. And we've got Jalen Brack coming to the desk as well right after opening ceremony, the president of Blizzard Entertainment.
Later on tonight, we're going to have Jeff Kaplan joining us to end the show. I can't wait for that. I can't wait for the Jeff. Papa Jeff. He's going to be here with us. And tomorrow, we're going to have tons of illustrious guests as well. K.O. Milker is going to be joining us to talk some Heroes of the Storm. K.O. Milker, me and him have a little bit of a personal attachment. That was the first guy I've ever interviewed at Blizzard. So that's going to be fun.
Okay, let's actually start this thing up. They're doing a lot of introducing.
And, we have a lot to talk about. I have a lot of
Let's jump to the panel.
And check in with our other roaming reporter, Rachel Querco, a.k.a. Seltzer, who's standing by at the arena with a very special guest.
Thank you guys so much. It's true, I have the specialist of guests, because if you watch any esports, especially Blizzard esports, you gotta know this guy. It's Alex Goldenboy Mendez, global icon, national treasure, blessing us with his
Who is he?
Alex, welcome back to BlizzCon.
Hey, it's good to be here. I don't know if the people in here can hear me, because, you know, obviously being a global icon, I need everyone to be able to hear me. But it's okay, though. I'm very excited to be here. Obviously, my 4th BlizzCon. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait.
Well, we can do a quick test if they can hear you. We're here in the arena. We've got so many fans excited to watch the opening ceremonies. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for BlizzCon?
It worked. It worked.
I stole your "Are you ready"? Do you wanna do it?
Oh yeah, sure. Wait, ladies and gentlemen, I said, are you ready? There you go.
That's what we're paying the big bucks for. Now, Alex, you're here for the Overwatch World Cup. This brings teams from the Overwatch community from all around the world here to Anaheim, California to compete.
I'm guessing he's an
Tell me about why
Overwatch
this
player,
event is so special
from
to
what
you.
they're saying.
Well, you know, the Overwatch World Cup has been going on for quite a while now, and it's always been a blast to be a part of. It's just great to be home with.
Let's skip Overwatch. Let's go to the next panel. I will skip through a few things if they're not really something that interests me.
We are now joined here at the desk by Esports Global Director Sam Braithwaite for BlizzCon Esports.
Hello.
And again, that's going to be Overwatch,
So let's
probably.
jump right into it, because we got opening ceremony here.
I want to skip forward to the actual presentations of the new expansions and stuff. Like, that's the exciting part.
Has a message that he'd like to share.
How you feeling, BlizzCon?
I was about to say, is that him? He has really long hair.
Before we start the opening ceremony, I want to say a few words.
He's smoothing it.
You know, Blizzard had the opportunity to bring the world together in a tough Hearthstone esports moment about a month ago, and we did not. We moved too quickly in our decision-making, and then, to make matters worse, we were too slow to talk with all of you. When I think about what I'm most unhappy about, there's really two things. The first one is we didn't live up to the high standards that we really set for ourselves. And the second is we failed in our purpose. And for that, I am sorry, and I accept accountability. So what exactly?
Oh, that was good.
So what exactly is our purpose? BlizzCon is demonstrating it even as we speak. We aspire to bring the world together in epic entertainment. And I truly believe in the positive power of video games. When we get it right, we create a common ground where the community comes together to compete, connect, and play, irrespective of the things that divide us. As an example, BlizzCon has people from 59 countries all around the world here at the show today. That is amazing. And that is the positive power of video games, to transcend divisions that surround us in so many of our places today. We will do better going forward. But our actions are going to matter more than any of these words.
I was just about to say, they can say as much as they want.
I hope it's clear how committed we are to everyone's right to express themselves in all kinds of ways, in all kinds of places. I've actually seen and heard many of you expressing yourself this morning. You use your vacation and your family time to be here in Anaheim with us, and we are so grateful that you're here this weekend. Our best moments are here in our shared passion for Blizzard games. So once again, BlizzCon has brought us together, and today you're going to see a lot of the hard work of the Blizzard team.
I was just about to say, like, one thing is that you say you're going to do better. Another thing is to actually do better in the future. Because it's sort of a corporate culture to go in, and if they mess something up, they apologize, and then, oh, suddenly everything is okay again. But you have to actually prove that you stand by your word. So, you know.
I am personally so proud of what we are building, and I hope you love it too. Thank you for joining us.
But in general, like a really good start to the to BlizzCon with an apology.
So, are you ready to start the countdown? Let's do it.
Interesting. That's a very intense 5-second countdown. So what is this for? Overwatch or Blizz? What do you call it? World of Warcraft. Oh, it's Diablo!
Thy eternal light protects me. Thy divine wisdom guides me. Doth my path is wrought with darkness. Guide myself to thy sacred light. Blessed Akrat, thy eternal light protects me. Thy divine wisdom guides me.
Quiet.
Though my path is wrought with darkness.
Shut up.
There's a hole in the cathedral.
They have our scent. Run!
Diablo was never really a thing for me, by the way. I played Diablo 3 a little bit when it came out, but that's pretty much it.
Just keep running. Are you out of your mind? He's not going to make it. He has to.
Blessed Akrat, thy eternal light protects me. Thy divine wisdom guides
Look at me. All the gold we want is right there.
No, I just came here for knowledge.
They're coming! I know.
Get over here!
Now, breach the seal. Get us through that door.
Oh, Lord, help me. By 3 they come. By 3 thy way opens. Blood show. This doesn't make any sense.
Oh, he has to bleed.
Blood is the key. Blood is the key!
What?
I need 2 of you!
No! Go! I'll hold them! Go!
So, it says the blood of the willing goes...
You gotta be kidding me! It worked!
We have to help him!
He's dead already.
Ah, they left him behind.
It's a shame he didn't make it. Oh well, cheer up. Gold splits better 3 ways instead of 4. Must be hidden here somewhere. Read this.
By 3 they come, by 3 thy way opens, by the blood of them willing. Hail. Hail the Creator. Oh, hail the daughter of... Oh no. No.
What about the coin? What's it say?
This is forbidden. This is a summoning. I cannot speak.
Don't lie to me!
We came here for treasure. What is this place?
I don't know. Maybe it's a temple. Or a tomb, or...
He's back. The guy that left behind. Hey, Daryl. By the way, Daryl, this is not kids friendly, just in case.
Thy eternal light protects me. Thy divine wisdom guides me.
Open your eyes.
Eternal light protects me. Eternal light protects me. Eternal light protects me. Eternal light protects me.
There is no light here. You came to the darkness for knowledge.
Yes.
And all the knowledge you seek is here. Surrender. Speak the words. Call her home.
By 3 they come. By 3 thy way opens. By the blood of the willing, we call thee home. Hail, daughter of hatred. Creator of sanctuary. Hail. Lilith.
Oh yeah, I think I remember. One of the protagonists in Diablo 3 turned out to be the daughter of Diablo or something.
Blessed Mother, save us.
Neat. Daryl is leaving again.
Please welcome Game Director of Diablo, Luis Barriga.
Good morning, BlizzCon! It is so very good to be here. I want to thank all of you for coming, and a big thank you to Blizzard Cinematics for starting things off the right way this weekend. I know you all want to hear about the game, so let's get to it. Diablo IV is Darkness, World, and Legacy. Let's start with Darkness. Diablo IV is dark. You just saw the cinematics, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Whether it's the art, the story, or the horror elements that we've embraced, the first thing you will notice about Diablo IV is that we are going back to the franchise's darker roots.
That's good.
It'll mean blood and gore. It'll mean occult symbols and rituals. More importantly, it will mean victories are neither clean nor guaranteed. We hope you're as excited about that as we are.
So it seems like they're going to do a little bit more of RPG than...
Then we have World, also super important for Diablo IV, because we've only seen glimpses into Sanctuary in previous Diablo games. But those glimpses have enthralled us and captured our imaginations. With Diablo IV, we want to put the world of Sanctuary front and center. We want every character, every monster, every faction to have a sense of place. Drowned undead that emerge from the coastlines. Brutal goatmen that come from the hills above us. And as we go deeper and deeper into the depths below, a truly dark, gothic, and medieval version of hell. The world is also how you'll experience most of our game. It is there that you will find enemy camps and friendly towns alike. It is also where you'll find players to interact with, whether it's to trade with them, group with them, or should you choose to do so, murder each other in PvP zones.
Oh. Steal loot from each other.
Finally, Legacy. Whether it's the sense of dread from Diablo 1, or the classic class lineup and loot chase that we still are inspired by from Diablo 2, or the best-in-class visceral and fluid combat from Diablo 3 that we still enjoy, we are approaching this series with complete reverence, and we hope that it shows. If you are new to the series, we want you to feel like we did when we first played Diablo. If you're a longtime fan, we think this is the game you've been waiting for. Isometric action RPG, developed for PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. On that note, we want to offer you a first glance at Diablo 4, along with our first three classes. The Barbarian.
There you go.
The Sorceress. And the Druid.
A Druid, that's new.
On behalf of everyone on the Diablo 4 team, it is our absolute pleasure now to share with you the world premiere of the Diablo 4 gameplay trailer.
Oh, that's gonna be exciting. Oh, that looked like photorealistic. That doesn't even look like a game.
The dream continues to haunt me, old friend. It always starts with a journey to a distant land. There I find a city in flames. Streets choked with corpses. Unthinkable destruction. I witness senseless slaughter. Brother against brother. Pure hatred. And then, executions. Agony. Suffering surrounded me until my turn comes. They burn my eyes. Break my bones. I awaken in terror. There's no one left to stand against them.
I just want to mention, I love how they made it a lot more darker than the previous game. Oh, he's a druid. So that was PvP we just saw there. It's like slaughtering wolves. Oh my god, it just like, it ate one of the players.
You think me mad, old friend, but I know these dreams. They tell of the future. Hell is coming, brother. Hell is coming.
And there we had Lilith. Lilith. I can't say it.
All right. How'd you guys like that first look?
It did look like a barbarian. I thought it was.
Super exciting next couple days ahead
You couldn't
of
tell
us.
when it was the
We have
barbarian, when was it the
panels where
druid.
We're going to go deeper into the features, the systems, the world, the art of Diablo IV. Starting with an unveil panel right after opening ceremony on this stage. But that's not all. The team's been working super hard on the game, and therefore we've been able to bring a little bit of that, a little taste for that. That's right, we have a very early look, a demo playable on the floor today, right now.
Oh, that's neat. I love to
We
see the
hope
guys
you
sitting
have
there
as
like
much fun
tweeting on
playing
their
it
phones.
as we did making it. And once again, on behalf of the game team, thank you all, and see you in hell.
Because they want to be the first ones out with articles.
Please welcome Game Director of World of Warcraft, Ian Hazakostas.
Yay! Ian!
Horde! Where are you? Alliance! Let me hear you!
Oh my god. Look at that
Protoss!
magnificent
Terran,
hair.
Third. Heroes of the Storm! Legends of the Tavern! Heroes of Overwatch!
Seriously?
And soon,
There's more Overwatch players
ready
there.
to battle the minions of hell in Diablo IV, the brave souls of Sanctuary. It feels really great to be able to say the words Diablo IV out loud. We use code names when we're working on the game, and we train ourselves not to reference the real name. And so when we're able to kind of come out and finally say Diablo IV, it feels a bit wicked. Diablo IV. We've actually had Diablo IV in development for some time. You know, when we come before you. We want to ensure that when we reveal Diablo to you, that we can give you a good look at the dark vision of Sanctuary, along with a playable experience here at BlizzCon. You know, I've personally spent a lot of time of playing Diablo over the years, and a lot of love has gone into this game, and I really hope everyone enjoys it. So let's talk about what else is here for us at BlizzCon, our Baker's Dozen BlizzCon, lucky number 13. We see BlizzCon as the place where the Blizzard community can have a home away from home. It's our home, too, because many of us have grown up playing Blizzard games. We've forged lifelong friendships. We've made memories. And we've also had a lot of fun over the last 28 years. This year, for the very first time, we've set up something to honor that legacy and celebrate the beginning of what's made Blizzard great. Celebrate the games and the communities that we have. We're excited to debut the Blizzard Arcade in Hall E. The Blizzard Arcade has an old school arcade vibe. Gather there with friends, play some games, and experience some of the earliest things that Blizzard has ever made. For the very first time at BlizzCon, we have Rock and Roll Racing, Blackthorn, and the Lost Vikings.
You ain't coming in here.
You've never experienced these games before, or if you have and you want to relive the magic, then the arcade is a great place to hang out. Joey Ray's Bar, as well as the Slaughtered Calf Inn are there, so you're welcome to kick back, relax, and enjoy.
The Slaughtered Calf Inn.
But the arcade isn't just a celebration of where we've come from. It's also a showcase of some of our new announcements. Let's talk about StarCraft II. If you're a StarCraft fan, we have two exciting things for you in the arcade. For several years, we've been working with Google and the DeepMind Artificial Intelligence Project. The DeepMind group has taught agents how to play the game as part of their AI research. And I'm excited to say that for the very first time, players are going to be able to pit themselves against DeepMind AI agents right here on the show floor.
Mm-hmm.
We have master level agents. We have a diamond level agent. And just a quick note that if you try this, you will not win. 3 of you will win.
It's a prize if they
win.
do actually win, I wonder.
For StarCraft II fans, we've also been really hard at work on bringing an iconic villain to life. I'm excited to announce that the leader of the Sons of Korhal and the ruler of the Terran Dominion, Arturas Mengsk, is coming to the game later this month as the next co-op commander. Mengsk is unlike any commander that you've ever played, and at BlizzCon, he's loaded up and ready for you in the arcade. Let's talk Heroes of the Storm. For Heroes fans, the team has brought Deathwing
yeah,
the Destroyer
coming under here
into
too.
the Nexus.
Notice how he smoothened it,
Deathwing
and it's like
is actually
silky
the
smooth.
most requested hero of all time, and we're excited for you to have an opportunity to play. Deathwing actually has 2 forms with 2 different sets of abilities, bringing the iconic World Breaker fantasy to life.
Oh, really? They have
Deathwing is
Deathwing in
playable
Heroes of the Storm
here
now?
for the very first time in the Blizzard Arcade. In addition, everyone with a BlizzCon or virtual ticket will automatically receive Deathwing when he enters the Nexus.
Oh, that's cool.
One more thing to talk about with Heroes, and it's that in celebration of BlizzCon, all heroes are free from now until November 10th. So if you've ever wanted to jump in and play, now's a great time. We have one other thing in one of our real-time strategy game in the Blizzard Arcade for you. It is called Warcraft 3 Reforged.
Yes! Show me.
We recently started the beta.
Release date?
And we're ready to expand the pool of testers. Everyone here, everyone watching with a virtual ticket.
Oh, no.
You'll all have beta access to Warcraft 3 Reforged starting Tuesday.
Ah, that sucks. I don't have the ticket.
And we'll announce the release date for Warcraft 3 Reforged soon. This month is an important one in Warcraft history.
Wait, so you're not going to tell us?
Because we're celebrating both the 25-year anniversary of Warcraft and the 15-year anniversary of World of Warcraft.
I was going to say, like, 25 years? World of Warcraft hasn't been out that long.
We kicked off that celebration 2 months ago with the launch of WoW Classic. And we've been excited to welcome back millions of players to Azeroth. It's been a really amazing experience to see the beginning of the game all over again. You know, many of you, I've heard cursing your limited bag space. Many of you are experiencing Baron's chat, maybe for the first time. And some of you have even gone back to feed your hunter pets. It's part of that anniversary celebration. And in remembrance that for some of you, your favorite flavor is vanilla, we have vanilla ice cream for sale in the WoW concessions area. You think that you want this, and I think maybe that you do.
Referencing to old jokes.
BlizzCon isn't just a celebration of our games, it's also a celebration of the players who play them. And here you can see some of the most skilled pro players compete in our games. I want to thank everyone out there for giving your energy and your support.
Can I just say a thing? There's this old saying that if a person has made a mistake and learned from it, let's say you have a job as a CEO and you make a big mistake, but now you learn from it, then he's actually more of a value after he made the mistake than he was before. So it seems that like he's learned the mistake, like we should listen to the consumers rather than just what we want or what we thought people might want. So a lot of people were very hesitant about him. I remember when he got elected as the new CEO, and I think he's like, from the seams of things, it looks like he has learned a lot from his past mistakes. So just wanted to point that out.
Favorite teams and favorite players. About a month ago, we held the grand finals for the Overwatch League in Philadelphia. Congratulations to the San Francisco Shock and 2019 MVP Sinatra. Next season, the league is moving to a home and away format, and that means there's competition taking place in 20 cities all around the world. And this is the very first time that something like this has been done in esports. And so it is a great time to be a fan of the Overwatch League, and it's a great time to love Overwatch. At BlizzCon this weekend, the best of the best are going to battle it out in the Overwatch World Cup, featuring more than 30 country-based teams from all around the world. We'll also be celebrating champions and crowning champions for StarCraft II World Championship Series, the Hearthstone Grandmasters, the WoW Arena World Championships, the WoW Mythic Dungeon International Tournaments. BlizzCon has been home to some great moments in esports history, and we're excited to watch the action unfold over the next 2 days. This weekend isn't just about celebrating our pro players, it's also celebrating with you, the Blizzard community. One of the highlights of the show is our community night contests, and for me, that's actually my personal favorite of the show. I am pleased to announce that
cool.
Darren DePaul, voice of Reinhardt, among other famous Blizzard characters, has returned to host.
Oh, that's a neat costume.
This is one of the places where you really see the vibrant and creative gaming community that is Blizzard and is BlizzCon come to life.
and we're really excited about the talent that everyone demonstrates. All right. In closing, I just want to say there's a lot of people out there that are Blizzard employees, and they're there in the crowd. And the reason that all of us are here is you. We're here to celebrate this moment with you. You know, we really look forward to this weekend. This is a highlight for us all year to come together and to celebrate all the passion of Blizzard games. And so, all of you watching, we are grateful. Thank you for being here with us. Blizzcon, be good to one another. Welcome home.
So, when are we getting Warcraft Reforged? Come on. I want a release
Please
date.
Welcome Game Director of World of Warcraft, Ian Hazakostas.
Okay, I was about to say.
I am so honored and humbled to be up here with all of you on behalf of World of Warcraft as it turns 15. This is a game that's been at the center of my life for every one of those 15 years. I think 15 years ago on this day, I think I was wandering around looking for stores that were still taking pre-orders of World of Warcraft so that I could jump in there on day one right with everyone else. And just over 11 years ago, I had the privilege of joining the development team to start to try to give back to this game and to this community that have given me so much. And here, in this 15th anniversary year, it's been a great year for World of Warcraft. Just taking a look back, we kicked things off with the Battle of Dazar'alor, an Alliance and Horde going head-to-head in a raid zone for the very first time. Moved beneath the waves with our Rise of Ashara update. Along the way, we've seen the Kultiran join the Alliance, and the Zandalari Trolls bolster the ranks of the Horde. And of course, we have...
I'm just gonna say, I heard from a reliable source, my girlfriend, that they are changing the World of Warcraft a lot, the next expansion. Like, there's a lot of changes coming. So, I'm quite excited to see what the game is gonna become next expansion.
Mechanomes and Volpera waiting in the wings to join them in our upcoming Visions of N'Zoth update. And of course, just over 2 months ago, we launched this little game called World of Warcraft Classic. And as Jay said, it's been incredible watching millions return to Azeroth as it stood before the Cataclysm. Whether you are returning home to an old friend after a long time away, or experiencing it for the very first time, it's been an incredible journey. And here, on the 15th year of World of Warcraft, this community stands as strong as it ever has. Speaking of Classic, I'm excited to announce that we have our next update to Classic just around the corner. In about a week and a half, the week of November 12th, we'll be enabling the world bosses, Azuragos, and Kha'Zix, but most importantly, the PvP honor system. So if you still have any quests to finish up in Hillsbrad, I would recommend you get those done between now and then. Just a hunch. A couple of weeks ago, we released Dire Maul, and we have Dire Maul playable here on the show floor today. So grab some friends and check it out, or make some new ones.
So we're talking Classic now, right?
Speaking of the strength of the WoW community, I think one of the greatest sources of pride on our end as the development team is being able to work with the community and harness the power of this incredible community in support of some incredible charitable causes. This year, I'm happy to announce that we're working with not one, but two different charities that both work on behalf of children around the world. The first is the Make-A-Wish Foundation, an incredible group that tries to grant wishes to critically ill kids.
Oh, I hate this. Can I just mention how it's sort of odd that we see a lot of apologizing, we see a lot of beneficial charities. It's because they've lost some, public eye from the consumers. So they're trying to make up for it by doing all these sort of things. Hold on, let me just go back here. Just to mention it.
And
we're probably going to see even
more.
more.
I've had the pleasure of working closely with them over the years. I want to give a shout out to an inspiring young woman named Amara who visited us and who we worked with just a couple months ago. The second organization is we.org, which works to provide food, water, shelter, educational opportunities, and more to children in need around the world. So next month, happy to announce and introduce a pet that's going on sale, the adorable Dottie, the baby alpaca. So if you thought that Dolly and Dot were your best friends, wait till you meet Dottie. After worming your way into hearts everywhere in early December, and all proceeds from sales of Dottie from then through the end of the year go to benefit the Make-A-Wish Foundation and we.org. But now, back in Battle for Azeroth, the year's not quite over. We have this 15th anniversary celebration that's just around the corner, and I mean just around the corner. This coming Tuesday, November 5th, we will be enabling all the 15th anniversary events in-game. So first off, that is a throwback battleground, Korak's Revenge, inspired by the original Alterac Valley. So dig in, get ready to storm that bridge as you push your way into Stormpike. And next, we have a set of throwback raid experiences, inspired by some of the greatest raid encounters of the early days of WoW, from Kael'thas through the Lich King. Players who complete all three of those experiences will be able to earn their very own Obsidian Worldbreaker mount, inspired by Deathwing.
I want that one. Like, seriously, it's so cool.
And everyone who logs in during the 2-month celebration will get their own little Lefarian pet. Now, for those of you here in attendance at BlizzCon in person, we have a second 15th anniversary celebration in store for you. Please join us tonight at 8:30 outside the Arena Plaza for a toast and a celebration with the World of Warcraft team. A toast to 15 years of Warcraft, of World of Warcraft, 25 years of Warcraft, and to the best that is yet to come. Now, as fun as it's been reflecting on the last 15 years and this past year in World of Warcraft, we all know that the most exciting part of BlizzCon every year is getting to hear and to talk about what's coming next. And so that raises the question, really, where would we go from here? What is next in store for Azeroth? I mean,
what is next in store?
As we stand right now, the Horde and the Alliance are perched on the edge of a tenuous armistice, finally putting an end to the battle for Azeroth that has ravaged their world. And yes, the forces of N'Zoth and his old god minions are looming, but I've seen some pretty reliable data mine spoilers that suggest that we're going to come out on top in this one. Don't tell anyone. And so after, really what's...
I hate that people spoiled stuff for the next expansion. I mean, it's such a anticlimactic reveal when people just data mine and show stuff. Is like, where's the surprise in that? Like, seriously, like, people should go to hell for doing that.
It's been a rough few years for Azeroth, between the assault of the Iron Horde and the Burning Legion and everything that's gone on since. I think things might finally be looking up for Azeroth. I mean, all these threats have been taken care of. Just sunny days and clear skies ahead. I mean, personally, I can't think of any unaccounted for loose ends or anyone who might be lurking in the shadows, thirsting for revenge. Can you?
Is this the trailer? It is. The Icecrown Citadel.
Icecrown. A monument to our suffering.
love how they just let her in.
The veil between life and death. Where a usurper sits on a frozen throne. But no king rules forever.
Well, he can definitely stay warm. Oh. She still has the scar. Oh, she can do the same thing. What? No.
You are unfit to wear this crown.
What?
To wield so much power.
That power will be your prison.
This world is a prison.
No. Oh no. Don't tell me she's going to be the new Lich King. What? She broke it.
And I will set us all free.
Oh, that's the Shadowlands. I need to put some heat on. Hold on. It's ice cold in here.
So now do the blue eyes make sense? So yeah, that just happened. We were once told by King Tyrannus that there must always be a Lich King. And now, for the first time, there is none. Sylvanas herself warned us that in the end, death claims us all. Well, death is coming for us.
Yeah, we are fucked.
If we want to stand a chance, we are going to have to go where no living soul ever has. We are going to the Shadowlands, the world that is the afterlife for the entire Warcraft universe. Now, along the way, we will get a chance to meet some of the Fallen and learn their fates.
I was just about to say, we're going to be meeting people who are dead in the lore now. Like Uther, for example, Arthas.
But this is not a familiar world full of orcs and trolls and dwarves. This is an ancient and mysterious realm
And
that
Grom,
predates
yeah.
the Titans themselves. It is the source of the power of the Scourge that we have seen, true, and it's the power upon which Death Knights draw. But it's also the origin of the noble Valkyr and the spirit healers that guide us back to the land of the living when we pull a couple mobs too many. Not that anyone's ever done that.
I didn't hear that.
It's
Sorry,
where
I gotta
spirits of
revert
nature,
back.
The noble Valkyr and the spirit healers that guide us back to the land of the living when we pull a couple mobs too many. Not that anyone's ever done that. It's where spirits of nature go to begin a cycle of rest and rebirth, and so much more. Let's take a look at this wondrous world that we are set to explore.
The jailer of the damned.
Oh.
A grim task, which I have failed. Now the eternal veil screams, torn asunder by her. Within the realm of shadow lies the darkest of terrors, which should never be set free.
Wait, who is that?
The Shadowlands are infinite. Their terrors and beauty were never meant for mortal eyes. I wonder if they can bear to behold all that awaits them.
There's vampires! It's like Van Helsing themed!
The denizens of this realm are the key to restoring the balance between
angels
life and death, if their trust can be earned.
Yeah, the new trench marks are amazing. There's like a Grim Reaper or something we're fighting.
And the end of everything is just the beginning.
This is probably going to be my favorite expansion ever. Just looking at the theme, like the visual theme of the thing is going to be my favorite ever. Just mentioning it. I love Gilneas. I love, you know, the old Borealis sort of medieval or like old English theme. This is perfect. Do you want an expansion giveaway?
So
I have
Warcraft
no
Shadowlands
money
is coming
to
next
do that.
year, and it will be available for pre-purchase today. That is just a little glimpse of this incredible world that awaits us. Ahead of us lie many fateful decisions, because at its core, Shadowlands is an expansion that is built around the idea of choice. agency and self-expression, in the rewards you pursue, and in the allies with whom you cast your lot.
Oh.
I know you have a ton of questions, like what the heck is a covenant? What is that tower that's sticking out of the sky above Icecrown?
Oh,
what
we're gonna
other
have
changes are coming
covenants!
to World of Warcraft, and so much more. So we have our first panel for you at 2:30 on the Mythic stage, the World of Warcraft What's Next panel, where we'll dig into that and much, much more. Also, playable here on the show floor, we invite you to journey into the zone of Bastion and to begin to explore the Shadowlands. Thank you all so much, and it's going to be an incredible weekend ahead. I can't wait to share
That's
it with
not
all.
it. Let's see more.
And now, it's my pleasure to turn things over to Ben Thompson on the Hearthstone team.
No! Screw Hearthstone. No! Ah, let's watch that again. I want to see it again. Hold on, let's turn it back.
Lies the darkest of terrors, which should never be set free.
So who is this guy? I'm kind of noticing that he has the crown that she just destroyed. Something that could seem like the crown. And the same blue eyes you get once you put it on. Is this Arthas in the other realm being trapped because because he was the Lich King? So his soul couldn't really move on like other people's would. So maybe he's trapped somewhere in the Shadow Realm. Being tortured for eternity. That would be so awesome if that would be a thing.
The Shadowlands are infinite. Their terrors and...
So this right here, this is also this is very much Wrath of the Lich King sort of themed layout. And I was really surprised once we started seeing this in the Shadowlands, because when I think Shadowlands, I don't think heaven, but I'm guessing we're gonna have, because it's the Shadowlands. There's hell and there's heaven. So some people go to this right here, and some people go to a little bit darker place, depending on who they were when they were alive.
I wonder if they can bear to behold.
Like this right here. I'm excited for this right here.
All that awaits them.
Yeah, maybe Death himself. There's vampires. There's all vampire movie theme. And this right here, this is sort of odd too, because this reminds me a lot of Warlords of Draenor with some of the zones there, which I like. I love the zones in Warlords of Draenor. I love how they look visually. Ardenweld. Yeah, Heaven, Hell, Limbo, and Earth. Azeroth. Eldraxis and Bastion. This is heaven. You can see the guy that's standing over on the left side, like this guy right there. He looks just like the angels a little bit later. Look at that. And these are a little bit darker. Like these are looks a little bit like the Valkyrian. Oh, I didn't pause that in time. Hold on, let's go back. This right here, angels, there's two types of angels. There are the darker angels and the lighter angels. I wonder if they're just from the same covenant, like he called it. Or if they're two different covenants. Because they're bowing down to those people, so they must be the upper management. Choose covenant. Oh, this is so cool. This has to be the home place of the Valkyrian. Angels, new allied race confirmed. I hope not. That would be so overpowered. We talked about that in the previous stream.
Between life and death.
So you can choose covenants. You can choose if you are a little bit a druidic sort of player, you can go to these guys and get a covenant. If you like something a little bit more, let's say paladinish or priestess, where you have heaven with the angels and stuff, you can go to them. If you want something a little bit more hellish, you can go to the vampires and get a covenant there. They look like angels, but will they be allied though? Yeah, that is the question. There will be allied race DKs and Pandaren DKs. Okay, let me see. My girlfriend thinks it's Arthas at the beginning. My girlfriend says, imagine being the loser who's going on stage after that presentation. He indicated also Sylvanas was one of the darkest of terrors, symbolic that she came forward straight away. And then there's also him presenting Shadowlands. Looking forward to new mounts and pets.
If their trust.
Yeah, these are the vampires. This is the vampiric race, even though they kind of look like clowns. Yeah, and then you get like an armor set depending on which covenant you get into. Maybe this is going to be a improved version of the reputation system, because like seriously, reputation has gone from being somewhat okay back in like way back. Like when you level up a new character, it's like a lot more fun with reputations early on, and then once you get to the part of the expansions where you get tabards and stuff after you become what do you call exalted with them, it sucks. Like reputation is just something to grind for, where hopefully they will fix something here. Tower of the Damned. Ascend the Tower of the Damned. Is there going to be like a trial mode where you have to like climb towers and see how far you can get? Kind of like Babylon's Tower. Is that what it's called? Tower of Babylon.
It's just the beginning.
And she's going to be like the, I don't know, the queen of the Valkyrian or something. Man, I love this expansion. Okay, there's Hearthstone. I don't know, this is Overwatch. Do we have anything else on this specific subject here? Do we have anything else regarding... let me just look it up. WoW... Shadowlands. Is there something? Is there anything information? Feature overview. Okay.
Artifact power is no longer going to be a thing in World of Warcraft. Hell, we're even getting Legion-like legendaries back, but without the massive RNG acquisition system. We're seeing a focus on class identity over spec identity, and really quite a lot of nice things. I mean, hey, profession items that actually don't have random secondary stats, that's going to be a thing in World of Warcraft Shadow Legends. In fact, all of this stuff is so interesting that I had to bin my initial impressions video because, well, frankly, based on the website and the initial trailer, things seemed a little bit sparse. But now that the team have actually sat down, they have said a lot of extremely interesting things. And also, we have gorgeous new pins over on Patreon this month. If you'd like to get your own, check that one out. So with that, let's get into World of Warcraft Shadowlands.
It's right
now,
there.
The first thing that we actually have to do here is quickly explain the lore. So basically, right, the Shadowlands they really are another realm. There's a lot to talk about there, and inside the Shadowlands, which pretty much are infinite, there are different realms. Now, 4 of these realms are the new zones of this expansion.
Can I just say, I think this is very much based on Viking mythology. You know how you have the different realms where like some of them are more nightmares and some of them are more, you know, angelic? Like it's very much like Viking lore, what they're doing here with the realms.
And each one of those 4 realms has with it a covenant. Now, covenants are the main new feature of this expansion. One that they said was sort of...
So you have the Kyrians, that's the angels, as in Valkyrians. Necrolords, that's the death theme. That's usually when you think about the Lich King and his undead minions and stuff, like that's the sort of theme. Then there's the Night Fae, that's something a bit more druidic, you know, like nature-ish looking thing. And then the Venthyr has to be the Dracula sort of people.
Of a similar scale to something like, say, the Garrisons. Now, the lore here is there's a mysterious character, a very old one, basically from the beginning of time, called the Arbiter. And whenever a soul dies, they go to the Arbiter, and the Arbiter works out which one of the different realms do they actually get sent to. So, do they go to Bastion, or maybe another one of the realms? That's how that works, and that's the covenant that that soul will go to. Now, there is another zone, one called the Maw. This is an endgame only zone, and well, for mysterious reasons that are key to the expansion story, recently souls have been just sucked into the Maw. Indeed, the souls lost during the battle for Azeroth, they've went to the Maw, and that's where you'll find Sylvanas and the Jailer. Now, with the story of this expansion, because of our connection with Azeroth, we don't get sucked into the Maw. Instead, we go to Oribos, which is the new capital city, and from there we go through our leveling experience, which is initially linear as you go through the 4 zones. And the reason is that they actually want to tell a story across the zones.
I'm fine with linear leveling.
They could not do in the past with the Legion.
Actually, let me just be clear here. I prefer linear leveling when it comes to the World of Warcraft. Post-game stuff should still have a lot to do, but I prefer linear storytelling than I do where you have to go out and find your own story. A lot of times I notice that if you go to different zones and you have to if you have to actually strain yourself to live into the story in order to actually understand what is going on, then it's bad storytelling. I mean, you could say that, well, you know, if you just interested yourself a little bit into the story, then maybe you'll know what's going on. Well, I prefer more cinematic sort of storytelling. So that's something that that's pleasing to my ears.
And BFA systems. And to be honest with you, I really enjoyed the leveling of Warlords of Draenor, and I think going back to a bit of that model is actually a really good thing. But what's quite nice is that alts, when they level up, they'll be able to do a zone in any order. And what's even more cool is that if you're leveling up an alt in Shadowlands, well, you'll actually have access to endgame features. And that means that while you're leveling your character, you can progress on your end game progression. That means that your alts will actually hit max level, really having achieved quite a bit indeed. Now, why have I talked...
So you don't have to, you're not forced to do the same storylines again and again and again. They're trying to make it a little bit more alt-friendly. That's a huge plus. Playing an alt as a new game plus experience. Then you gotta choose a covenant, and then level in any zone, do world quest and more, and then do the end game progression while you level. That's so much better than what is going on right now. It seems like they're trying to fix the mistakes that current WoW has, which is just sort of it feels like they sort of trapped themselves in this grind that you have to do, and having alts is just terrible in this game. So this is good to see.
Talked about the leveling and the lore here. Well, it's because these covenants are extremely important to the game. Ian described them as being a garrison-like feature in terms of their scope, what he calls a build-around feature, i.e. a feature that really a lot of an expansion is built around. Now, there are 2 really important things with the covenants. So the first major feature of the covenants is 2 active abilities, just one that everyone who joins a covenant will get, and then another one that is dependent on your class. So this will give you really quite a lot of gameplay customization. Now, my worry here is that depending on the permanence and the sort of switching cost of your covenant decision, that, well, you know, you might get sort of pigeonholed into a choice there. But the way that it works is that as you level through the 4 zones, you'll get to try out the Covenant abilities, and then you'll select which Covenant you want to join at the end game. Now, there's another Covenant feature called Soul Binding, and this is essentially your main path of progression once you hit the end game. They were very light in details on that, though. They're going to cover it in the deep dive panel, but basically, that's how the Covenant system works. That's how you get to the Shadowlands, and really that is the framework for the rest of what I'm going to talk about in this video. And yes, that's including things like there being no AP, there being, say, you know, legendaries that I think at least sound like they won't have the acquisition problem of the Legion ones. Really, there is so much to talk about, and what's interesting is that so much of it is directly targeted at criticisms of the game that I know I've been making for years. And the first one we're going to talk about is...
One thing I sort of have a question about is, are they going to be, there's been talking about them removing the whole thing about Horde and Alliance, it's going to be more like a gray area now than it's just black and white, you know, which faction are you on? I wonder if they're going to do the PvP for depending on which covenant you're in. So if you choose a specific covenant, then you're going to be fighting for their side. That would be a cool feature. So you could have like 4 different, places you could go. That would be kind of cool.
Is the changing approach to RNG that Blizzard have. So, I mean, Ian was very, very transparently dunking on the bad examples of RNG in World of Warcraft. Now, one example was professions, right? And he was just talking about how, you craft a staff and just get 2 random secondary stats. Maybe they're the ones that you don't want. Why's it got to be this way? That's
something that they could consider is to look at how they did legendaries for vanilla WoW. It took an entire guild of 40 people working together in endgame raid content to even craft a match for TF. Same with Sulfurous, took a lot of effort. I saw Asmongold when they actually managed to make the first one on the server, and it became this grand event where like there was so much lag going on, they couldn't see anything because there were so many players in one place, and it became this huge event. And again, it makes like really, really badass items more exclusive, which is kind of cool.
Literally what he did. The way that it's going to work in this expansion, and this is more something to be said to sort of explain their philosophy, is, if you craft a staff, well, you'll actually just be able to choose, right? Via basically sort of gems that you use at the time of crafting, you sort of socket them in to choose your secondary stats before you craft the item. That's so much better. He then even talked about their just philosophy for professions, how they want professions to be a bit more meaningful to your endgame gearing. Now, that's something that people have really liked about Classic, so it's lovely to see that actually come over to, I guess, the more modern branch of the game. That's not all, though, with RNG. As another example, he talked about the weekly chest.
So if you can actually start crafting gear and different items that has specific stats in it, let's say you're a monk player and you need to have specific stats for your character and you have the goal to spend for it, then like you don't just run out and you don't get like a random, I don't know, staff that you then has random stats on it. You put it on the auction house and hope somebody will buy it. Like, and even if you craft stuff, like you don't know, like it's much better that you can like customize crafting so much that you can go in and it just will benefit the people actually buying it a lot more. So people will actually, use profession for something.
Now, this got quite a lot of applause because, like, he talked about the weekly chest and basically said it's rubbish. And, I mean, yeah, he's right. He talked about how it really just ends up being a constant source of disappointment. And he offered a bit of an example. How about there was a system that took all that you had done in a week, right, sort of smartly worked that out, and gave you a choice, instead of just giving you one item that you're probably going to be disappointed with, gave you a choice of 6 items. And what if you just got to choose the item you wanted out of that pool? So that vastly would increase the chances of you getting an item that you want, and I think would feel a bit more fair, and there'd be a bit more agency in terms of the slots and things that you actually select there. And he also said that, say, what if in addition to those 6 items, there was also a sort of a backup, right? Something you could choose if you didn't want any of those 6 items. And I really think that is, that's just an example. He was very clear to say that this is in development, but that player agency is one of the most important, guidelines, North Stars for them when they're developing this expansion. And that's kind of basically an example of where the weekly chest idea was and what a version of that would look like with their more modern philosophy. And I've got to say, that is really great. So far, it seems like this is going to be respecting the time of the play.
Just to mention it, I found another video here that details a little bit more about, because I can see there's a presentation here and stuff I did not see on the opening ceremony, so I do have another video here that will hopefully tell a little bit more about, what is going on here.
Player a lot more. And really on the topic of respecting the time of the player, I think we've got to talk about artifact power, because he said, right, that yeah, there are benefits to always having something to progress towards, but then he said that, well, you're also going to feel really pressured to do things like your weekly checklist and all that. And because of that, he said, no AP.
That's so, it's so terrible. Like, when you log into WoW today in retail, the difference between Classic and retail right now is that in Classic, you can take your time. There's no weekly reward or anything that you have to grind towards. Whereas in WoW today, I feel like I have this huge checklist of things that I need to, like it's a chore. I have to do all these things before Wednesday because otherwise I'm going to be so far behind everyone else. My girlfriend feels the same way. She doesn't log into WoW every single day. Like, she does it maybe every other day or so. Maybe she has a period where she does it every day. Another period she doesn't play for a week. And if she has a period where she doesn't play for a week, suddenly she's lost behind the group of people who are grinding every single day because they need to complete this checklist here. And it's just so idiotic. Like all the times, like there's like a timeout for like World Quest, there's a timeout for Mythic Plus keys and stuff. Like it's just, there's a lot of things you have on your checklist that you need to complete in time. And it takes away from enjoying the game to, oh, I gotta grind this before Wednesday. Like you're so busy performing work in the game that you don't enjoy the game, and it's so stupid. Same with the seasonal uplift in Mythic Plus gear. You can grind for weeks to get best in slot items from Mythic Plus, and then new season comes, and if you don't play for 2 weeks, then you are behind. Exactly. It's something that needs to be fixed.
And I don't think I've actually heard anything this BlizzCon that has got so much of a cheer from the audience than this Artifact Power announcement. And I think that, I mean, that really, really is an interesting thing. Now, he talked about, you know, there being like a lot of customization, rewards from the various different covenants. And I've got to say,
look at that.
If you're getting, you know, more of your rewards.
Okay, let's actually watch the extended, you know, where it talks about Shadowlands.
And we are left staring across the veil between life and death.
Yeah, this is the presentation.
Into a small piece of the Shadowlands. Well, what does that mean for us exactly? So this panel is going to be a little bit different from some of the past expansion What's Next panels. Because this isn't one of those expansions where it's like, okay, we are getting on a ship and sailing off to this new continent that's part of Azeroth that map makers have mysteriously ignored for the last 10 years. We are going to another plane of existence, effectively. We are going to the realm of death, to the afterlife.
Oh, that's so good.
And so we need to also lay out some of the ground rules for how this whole place works. So bear with me, and then we'll put it all together at the end.
Okay.
There's a couple things where I'm going to gloss over some details because we have a deep dive panel tomorrow where a few of my colleagues are going to go much more in depth on some of the features and systems. Anyway, let's get going. So, for the lore nerds out in the crowd, you may recognize
Oh, I've never seen this before. This is so cool. There's the light, like with the, you know, the holy powers, and then you have the beings that are like the, I don't know, the speakers of that specific power, which is the Naru. You have disorder, which is Fel, and that's the Burning Legion. Then you have death, necromantic, which is the undead, so death knights and stuff. Shadow Void, the Void Lords, and the Old Gods. I never knew that the Old Gods were part of the... that's why Sylvanas have like the shadow-ish sort of power. Order, Arcane, the Titans. So that's like magic and stuff. And there's life, nature, wild gods. And then there is some different things in between. There's spirit, fire, air, decay, earth, water. And then you have reality at the end, in the middle here. That's kind of cool. What does it say there? Emerald Dream. Okay.
You may recognize this, the Warcraft cosmology, which lays out the 6 primal forces that define...
This is so cool. Like, had I seen this, the elemental lords like Ragnaros, etc. Had I seen this... Oh, okay, so these things here, spirit, fire, air, water, that's the elemental lords. Had I seen this when I entered the World of Warcraft for the first time, I would have looked at this and be like, oh my god, you know, which one of these do I want to, like, what speaks to me? You know, what sort of theme do I like to go for? This is cool. Like, this puts the whole lore in a new perspective. Like, I go into the World of Warcraft and I have a certain idea about, okay, Fel, well, that's the demon, you know, the demon army, and I don't like Fel, because that's related to the demons. They're the bad guys. But if you look at it from this point of view without no background knowledge, like, you could, like, fall in love with the Burning Legion just because, oh, I'm the type of person who, maybe I have a Dungeons and Dragons group every single week, and I like to, you know, play in the more disorderly fashion, and I like to go into this sort of thing. And then, oh, well, the Warlocks might be perfect for me then. So that's so cool.
The Warcraft.
I'm going to have this, I'm going to find a picture of this. What is it called? What did he call it?
the Warcraft cosmology.
Warcraft cosmology. Cosmology. Notice how I went back in the video and I found it like immediately, like right where he said it.
Which lays out the 6 primal forces that define the Warcraft universe.
This is so cool.
And shadow, order and disorder, and yes, life and death. And so
I also noticed they're across from each other, like the opposites.
It's been right there in front of us this whole time, just on the edge of reality, separated from us by this veil that has shattered. And that's where we're going. So to kick things off, let's talk about some light topics like what happens to us after we die. In Azeroth or other worlds of Warcraft, anyway. So
what happens to us after we die? A light topic. Yeah, you won't hear anyone say that in real life. That's like probably one of the most chaotic topics ever with all the religions and stuff.
When death comes, a soul crosses between life and death. Spirit healer makes that determination, and a winged bearer comes to bring the soul into the Shadowlands. And souls come before a mysterious entity, an ancient entity known only as the Arbiter.
Hi, Person.
The Arbiter, since time immemorial, has functioned in this capacity. And when that soul comes before her, in a fraction of a second, every one of the contents of that soul is laid bare before her. All the deeds, the misdeeds, the thoughts, the aspirations, the triumphs, and the failures are felt, absorbed, and understood by the Arbiter. And the Arbiter sends that soul off to a destination realm, to one of the infinite realms of the Shadowlands, each one of which is ruled over.
Thank you. My friend just sent me a high-resolution picture of this. Like, seriously, I might have this as a background image on my phone. This is so cool.
By a powerful covenant, a ruling force within the Shadowlands. Also, and this will matter more in a second, but each soul brings with it a powerful source of energy known as anima. This is a vital force that is the product of all of that soul's experiences, all that they have done in life. Great souls, whether for good or for evil, have a lot of anima, and ones who've lived smaller, more humble lives have less. But folks like Varian, Garrosh, certainly Arthas, the former Lich King, they had a ton. And anima is the mana. It is ironically, the lifeblood of the Shadowlands. In this land of death, it's the force that makes the trees here grow and rivers flow. It's the source that's drawn upon to conduct the magic of death, and much more. And that's going to be essential to understanding this world. So as I mentioned, the Shadowlands has infinite realms, but our journey initially will focus on a few of them. We see Revendreth, Ardenweald, Bastion, and Maldraxxus as 4 major realms. Oribos, a city which stands in the center of it all, and this mysterious region known only as the Maw. Let's start talking about them. So first off, Bastion. Now for each of these zones, I'm going to start by showing a piece of our internal concept art that helped define the look and the feel of the zone, and then we'll see how that turned into reality within the game. So this piece, which I'm sure you're all seeing for the very first time ever as an exclusive part of Blizzcon, reflects our artist's early take on the splendor of Bastion. Bastion is ruled over by the Kyrian Covenant. Now, the Kyrian are the forebears of the Valkyr and the Spirit Healers and more. The Kyrian are ordered and purposeful, and the souls that find their way here, that are sent here by the Arbiter, are ones that had some natural calling in life to service in one form or another. But they don't come here fully ready to assume their ascended role as a Kyrian. Souls come with burdens, and a lot of what goes on in Bastion is meditation, reflection, understanding self through combat and other means to shed those burdens and be ready to ascend to an eternity of service in the afterlife as a Valkyr or a Spirit Healer or one of a couple of other paths. An example of a soul that might be familiar to us who ended up in Bastion is Uther, the Lightbringer.
Oh.
And we will be encountering him among others, in our journey through Bastion.
We're gonna meet Uther!
And of course, if you haven't had a chance to check it out yet, Bastion is the zone that's playable here on the show floor today.
Oh, that's so cool.
So here is a look at some of the environments of Bastion, glowing, resplendent, very much distant from the dark and dreary images that might have been conjured up when you first heard the words Shadowlands. Because the land of death is not all darkness. There's a distinction there. Next, a bit of a darker place, the zone of Maldraxxus. So Maldraxxus, as initially defined in this concept, is ruled over by the Necrolord Covenant, and it reflects the heart of the Shadowlands' military might. The souls here defend the Shadowlands from external forces and wage war on the enemies of death. These are the forces that were called upon by the Lich King, by his servants Kel'Thuzad and others, and we've seen a piece of that. Now, while at a glance, okay, undead, rot, decay, this seems like, okay, these are all evil guys. That's not necessarily what Maldraxxus is about. While this power certainly can be used for evil, at its core really is more about just a relentless spirit, unyielding search and pursuit of power, strength inward and outward. And an example of a soul that ended up in Maldraxxus is actually the warlord Draka, Mother of Thrall, who, while certainly not an evil, wicked soul, was one who would never kneel, never bow before another.
That's
and
so
she
cool.
has actually ascended to a position of some prominence within Maldraxxus, as we will discover when we journey there. Let's take a look at how this is coming together. If you think of Legion as the old Burning Crusade look and feel, dialed up to 11, Maldraxxus is very much Eastern Plaguelands, the Scourge, and more, taken to the nth degree. This is the source of that power, and much more. Next, Ardenweald. Ardenweald is...
Okay, so just to guess, who are we gonna meet there in Ardenweald? This is live, I'm guessing. Who are we gonna meet here? What about the, oh, what is she called? The dragon that we killed in Legion because it got turned evil? Maybe that one?
An enchanted fairy forest, and that was what we were setting out to create, and this concept by our environment team really helped define that look and the general vibe that we were going for. Ardenweald is ruled over by the Night Fae, and we are familiar with the Emerald Dream, those of you who are druids, maybe more so than most. And if we think of the Emerald Dream as a reflection of the spring and the summer, part of nature's cycle, Ardenweald reflects autumn and winter. It's a place of rest, yes, of death, but also of preparation for eventual rebirth. Because the journey into the Shadowlands isn't necessarily a one-way journey. And spirits of nature are the ones who are called powerfully to Ardenweald, and most of them come here to rest and to prepare to serve the wilds once more. An example of a powerful, well-known soul who ended up in Ardenweald is actually the demigod Cenarius. When he fell before the axes of Grommash Hellscream and his band of felon-fused orcs, his soul passed into Ardenweald, where he rested and recovered and returned to serve the wilds in a time of need during the events of the Cataclysm.
Oh.
So here's a look at how that general, those concepts have been translated into in-world environments. As you look up in Ardenweald, you're looking at the underside of canopies of magical ancient trees that almost look like staring up at the night sky.
So we've gotten Draka, which is one horde side, famous person who ended up there. We have Uther, which is an alliance famous one, and then we have Cenarius, which is an alliance famous one. So the last one has to be somebody from the horde side, I'm guessing, and it has something to do with Fel. I'm gonna guess. Gul'dan ended up there.
But there are also some parts of Ardenweald that aren't faring quite as well, that also reflect some sorts of powers that we may have seen recently. especially for those of you who are playing Alliance in Battle for Azeroth, because Ardenweald is also deeply connected to the Drust, who come from the Land of Death.
Drustwar was my favorite zone in BFA.
Fourth up, Revendreth. Revendreth is awesome. It's basically just a creepy gothic zone, miasma, soaring castles, villages in their shadow, and terrors and horrors lurking around every corner. Revendreth is ruled over by the Venthyr. This is our fourth major covenant. And Revendreth, unlike the other realms, maybe isn't the place that you would want to go or hope to go as a soul passing into the Shadowlands. The souls that the Arbiter has sent to Revendreth over the years tend to be the ones that have some flaw, whether it's pride or some other problem that's kind of blocking them, that's hindering their ability to serve the Shadowlands in one of the other known paths. And they come to Revendreth to atone, to do penance for their misdeeds.
Is my stream okay? Because my friend is saying that it's dropping frames. I mean, I can watch the stream in 720 pixels. Did I like the trailer? I thought the trailer was good. It wasn't as impactful as Battle for Azeroth, but it was... I think I don't think that we're supposed to be focusing... It's like, you know, Battle for Azeroth, the trailer was like hyped up here, and then the content was like here. Where I think they decided to do this thing and just sort of say, well, the trailer is not going to be as much of a, you know, ka-chow sort of, you know, let's get started on the next expansion thing. But it's going to be more of a, it's going to be more about the content they're going to focus on. Let me know if there's like drop frames or something in the middle of this thing.
And potentially to be redeemed and to move on to one of the other realms, or perhaps not. Revendreth is not a particularly fun place to be, but it's an essential part of the engine of death that is the Shadowlands. An example of a soul that came here and whom we will encounter in our journeys is none other than Kael'thas Sunstrider.
Oh! Oh.
Who, you know, after a setback or two, found his way to this dark land.
Oh, it dropped previously, but it got refreshed?
A look at the
It
landscape,
fixed when you
the
refreshed?
silhouette
That's good.
of the spires that define the environment. This is one of my favorite zones. I can't wait to explore it. I can't wait for all of you to check it out. There are also parts of Revendreth where the light has actually broken through the clouds and seared the earth.
I'm gonna be like, to be honest, after this I'm gonna try and like figure out, because I have two mains in the game. I have a Death Knight and I have a Monk, and I need to figure out once I start this expansion, because I am not going to be switching characters like I've done previously in all my streams. Like, I will stick to two characters when I play the next expansion. And I need to figure out what exactly, like, which covenant I want to get into, because there's so many interesting ones.
Some are actually caged up here because exposure to the light does horrible, horrible things to many of the souls of this land. Okay, so I've used the word covenant a whole lot. What is a covenant? So a covenant is the ruling power of the Shadowlands. There are four major ones we're going to be encountering: the Kyrians in Bastion, the Necrolords in Maldraxxus, the Night Fae of Ardenweald, and the Venthyr of Revendreth, as described. Covenants are also really the #1 major feature of Shadowlands. I think in Battle for Azeroth, we had a few different smaller features. We had islands, we had the Heart of Azeroth, we had warfronts. Covenants are more like a garrison or an artifact in the sense of being what we call internally a build-around feature. They're integrated into every aspect of the game, and they're an essential part of your journey, your progression, your power, and more. Each of these covenants, as you encounter them in your journeys, will seek your aid, because you are a powerful, mighty hero who comes with some unique abilities, seeing as you actually are tethered to the land of the living, and you are coming alive from Azeroth, which we'll get to in a second. And of course, in exchange for this, each one of them offers access to their power and a variety of rewards. And so each of you will have to make a fateful choice. Which covenant will you join? Let's take a look at what that will mean for you. So a covenant entails multiple things. First off, each covenant has its own large narrative endgame arc. So in Battle for Azeroth, we had the Horde War campaign and the Alliance War campaign. In Shadowlands, we have 4 of those. Each one opens up at max level, depending on your choice, and will lead you through the world in different ways as you unravel the mysteries of the Shadowlands, but do so in pursuit of your Covenant's goals and working to empower them and thus yourself. Each Covenant also brings with it 2 active abilities. One of these is class-specific. It's a combat ability that will change your moment-to-moment gameplay. The other one is a universal ability that all members of that Covenant will share. And if you check out the demo here today for Bastion, you can see the Kyrian abilities for any given class and mess around with them. Next, Covenants bring with them an endgame progression system. There's a ritual known as soul binding, where as a member of a Covenant, you can bond your soul to a powerful denizen of the Shadowlands, enhancing your abilities, unlocking new ones, and having a ton of customization there. At a glance, I know this sounds like, okay, this is the artifact system, this is the Heart of Azeroth for this expansion. In some ways, it builds upon lessons learned from both of those. First and foremost, there is no artifact power to grind. This is not a... Yeah. Because honestly, like, that was an essential starting point for us when designing the system. I think one of the lessons we learned from Legion onwards is there is something great about having endgame goals and customization and things to work towards, and to not just have the things that modify your character come to a screeching halt when you hit max level. The flip side is, despite systems of diminishing returns and the other things we had in place in Legion and BFA, there's no question that there are social pressures. There are things that make it feel bad to play alts, where if you're not doing X amount of things every week, you feel like you're falling behind. You're letting your team down, or you're letting your own characters down. We want to have a world where you can have goals to work towards, customization, differentiation, without the grind. More details on this to come. We're going to be talking more about Covenants in our deep dive panel tomorrow, but that's an essential piece of this.
I really think this could be like a really good expansion. Like if they got, it seems like they know exactly what's wrong.
And of course, alongside the power,
I feel like they have actually been in YouTube and seen people post videos, you know, like Bellalar Gaming and, you know, Taliesin and Ivital. Like, it seems like they've been in there and listened to feedback, and they actually said, okay, well, let's fix the wrong things, and they actually made an expansion where they tried out something completely new.
Power is also a wide array of cosmetic rewards.
Gotham was right. They did change quite a bit.
Saw some of the armor sets in the expansion trailer, and there's a whole lot more beyond that. Each Covenant also has a home base, effectively, a sanctum. This is a cross in some ways between the Legion class hall, but also the general feeling that you might have had back in Legion playing through Suramar and restoring Shalaran and building it up from this dingy, dusty, dark hole in the ground into a base with a teleportation network and allies that you'd recruited. And as you work to restore your Covenant's power,
I like the Suramar quest
you'll benefit
lines.
from that, but you'll also be making choices along the way. Let's take a look at some of these rewards. So, if you join the Kyrian, let's say you're a warrior, this might be the plate set of armor that you can earn, a mount that you can earn, the active ability that all Kyrian warriors will have, Spear of Bastion. If you joined the Venthyr or you joined the Night Fae, you would have a different ability there. And Unburden, a utility movement ability that all members of the Kyrian Covenant will have. With Covenant rewards, we're also looking at exploring some new cosmetic options. You know, recently we've seen a couple of fun cloak replacements in the form of a backpack or totems on the Tauren Heritage armor. We want to do more with that, to really change your silhouette. So, different Covenants...
What?
So yeah, each Covenant will offer a set of cloak replacements or back attachments. So whether you want, you know, a halo or a pair of wings, or depending on the different Covenants that you're joining, a different aesthetic entirely, you can pick the one that best suits you.
That's kind of cool.
Okay, so Covenants. Taking a step back, let's get back to the world for a moment. So I mentioned the 4 zones, each of which has a Covenant, and at the center of it all rests Oribos. Oribos is a city that, again, predates memory. It is of an unknown construction, and it is the home of the Arbiter, this powerful, mysterious being that really fuels the machine that is the Shadowlands. And that has drawn to it over the millennia all manner of beings across the Shadowlands, and even some from other dimensions. Brokers and soul traders come here to wheel and deal. The politics of this entire dimension center on this bustling city at the heart of the Shadowlands.
So this is going to be our neutral
and this
zone.
Will also serve as our
like Dalaran
sanctuary
Legion.
city, our main player hub in our adventures through the Shadowlands.
Yeah.
Khadgar wanted to bring Dalaran through, but we figured there's already a city there. Not needed.
Silly Khadgar.
Last zone. This mysterious place known as the Maw. So, to our knowledge anyway, there is no covenant. But our knowledge is very, very limited about this place. You see, the Maw is a swirling vortex of darkness, almost like a black hole. And precious few souls over the eons, the Arbiter would send directly into the Maw. Those were seen as the most tainted, the most irredeemable, the darkest, most dangerous souls that were consigned to the Maw, as much for their own potential punishment as to protect the Shadowlands from what they could otherwise bring with them. Thus, the Maw is a mystery to even the natives of the Shadowlands, even the ancient ones. It's known to have, through whispers, a ruler known only as the Jailer, but the Jailer is almost like the boogeyman of the Shadowlands, right? It's the whispered figure of children's tales that, oh, you know, the big bad Jailer is going to get you locked away in the Maw. But basically, nothing is known because nothing has ever escaped the Maw. Journeying into the Maw is one way.
I'm going to bet we're going to escape it.
Go there.
During
Otherwise,
the
I wouldn't be telling you this. But
yeah, he just
that's
said.
How it's going to work. Okay, so what I just described is how the machinery of death has functioned throughout World of Warcraft's history, throughout the universe's history. But that's not how it's working right now. Death itself is broken. Instead of coming before the Arbiter and filtering out to all the realms of the Shadowlands, all souls that have shuffled off this mortal coil in recent years have been pulled inexorably directly into the Maw, strengthening it, causing it to grow, to swell like a tremendous maelstrom. That also means that the other realms of the Shadowlands are starved of this essential force, anima, that souls bring with them. There's a drought afflicting the entire Shadowlands. The Shadowlands are withering as the Maw grows. Now, what is Sylvanas' role in all of this, you may wonder? Because she, after all, is the one who set these events in motion. And I know Sylvanas has been an enigma to many for a long time. She, at times, can be an inspiring figure, but then at other times, especially recently, it has seemed like her actions were calculated to cause the maximum
all the Horde players.
All right. So yeah, slightly contentious issues here. At times and recently, it seemed like her actions were calculated to cause the maximum amount of death possible. What if they were? And who is this mysterious figure that we saw briefly a glimpse of in the expansion trailer earlier today?
It's Arthas stuck in the Maw.
It's not Arthas. Arthas is dead.
Ah!
But this is the mysterious Jailer inside the Maw. And this is not Sylvanas' master. She doesn't have a master. She is above that. She is beyond that.
He's in chains.
But this is a power with whom she is in league. They are partners with a common end that we will discover in time. And many have wondered, how has Sylvanas grown so powerful in recent years? How did she go from a mighty Dark Ranger, but one who had to flee the Lich King back in Wrath of the Lich King when you confronted them in the dungeon, to one who could stand up, smite Saurfang, and face off against Bolvar? It's because through her allegiance to one of these Lords of Death, as the power of death has been growing, as the power of the Maw and the Jailer have been growing, so too have her own powers. And that is a taste of the power that she's drawn upon, and that's part of what awaits us. Okay, now putting this all together.
Just an idea. It would be really awesome if there was this sort of, it's probably going to break things, but just an awesome idea. If you, with these 4 covenants, would choose one, and depending on how much power the players acquired for the covenants, those special abilities you gain would gain more power, like become more powerful. You know how kind of we have like the whole Alliance Horde, some factions, they, you know, depending which faction you play on, gain a 20% increase in buff or 10%. So, you know, you could do this sort of thing where you have the covenants fighting towards each other and trying to gain more power. So, you know, you will have this one covenant that's going to be completely overpowered because everyone's going to choose it because it's the overpowered one. Then you're going to have some players who wants to fight for the small guy, some other covenant that doesn't have any more, like any power at all. So that would be like a sort of like fun mechanic. And I can't, in order for this to work, it would not have to be anything that, like, you know, those abilities that gets changed, it wouldn't have to be anything, you know, sort of like gameplay breaking sort of thing. Like it should be a minimalistic difference in power, but still a difference. That would be kind of cool.
So, expansion launches. Just before the expansion launches, we have, you know, pre-patch events as we enjoy having to get people up to speed, get you caught up, maybe help leveling some alts here and there. This time around, as we've said, and as we've been told by Tyrannus, the Helm of Domination worn by the Lich King was essential to keep the undead of Azeroth in check, to keep them under control. Well, without it, what are they doing? They're rampaging across the world. And so there's sort of a Scourge Invasion 2.0 that we're cooking up that will set the stage for the journey that awaits us. So in the weeks leading up to Shadowlands, as the heroes of Azeroth fight to defend their homes and families and friends from the rampaging undead, they will also muster their forces to make for Icecrown and try to attack the source of this evil where it began. A key leader in this is actually going to be Bolvar himself. He did not die.
Really?
He was defeated.
So he's going to meet his daughter in this expansion.
But he actually offers us some unique insight into this situation. Because he actually, more than any other being, has one foot in each realm and understands them both. When he was seared by the dragonfire of Alexstrasza, he was infused with the power and the energy of life. That's what was able to allow him to keep the powers of the undead at bay as he wore this helm. But having worn the helm, he has seen into the other world and understands what awaits us. And he and his Death Knights can also help us cross over into that world, to understand what's going on there and to have a chance at saving our own. And so we will make for Icecrown, we will cross over, and we will end up in the Maw, because that's where everything that goes into the Shadowlands is going. And our journey ends there. It's a really short expansion. Obviously not. So we, heroes of Azeroth, with a unique bond to the world soul of Azeroth herself, find ourselves uniquely able to escape the Maw. Not all who come with us will be able to escape. Some of our friends and great champions of Azeroth will be trapped behind. But we escape, and we move on to Oribos, where we begin to learn about the nature of this new world and set out to level up through 4 zones in order: Bastion, Maldraxxus, Ardenweald, and Revendreth. So unlike the last couple of expansions, we want to get back to having a strong narrative arc that can span multiple zones. And so all people entering the Shadowlands will go on this journey. As you do this, you're going to work with each zone's powers, with each zone's covenant. As you earn their trust initially, they'll let you borrow their powers, so you can actually play with the active abilities that you'll have down the line. You get a sense of what your covenant's ethos is, their aesthetic, and all this is as you're learning about the world, as you are trying to understand the foes that face you and defeat them, you're also getting prepared for a fateful choice. Which covenant do you want to join? Because that's the big choice that awaits you at max level. Exactly. You will choose one of them. And after joining that covenant, you have its powers permanently, your covenant campaign begins, and you move into the endgame. Now, that's how it's going to go your first time through. But what about alts, you may ask? So one of the big things that we got out of non-linear leveling in Legion and BFA was flexibility when you're leveling your alts. You can have a different journey on one character versus another. But what we lost was the ability to tell a single, strong narrative story. We want to get the best of both worlds this time around. So on your alts, once you have one character that's made it through this journey a single time, we want to say, well, we know, breaking the fourth wall for a second, that you as a player, you understand how the world works. We don't need to teach you how covenants work. We don't need to teach you about the Shadowlands. So let's just let you pick a covenant right away, if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
And so you'll have access to their powers permanently. And on an alt, you can level up through any of the zones in any order that you want. You can do the narrative campaign, if that's what you want to do, or you could go to Revendreth first. Or you could spam dungeons, or battlegrounds, or whatever. Endgame systems like world quests will also be available. Ultimately, it's about giving the maximum number of options.
Oh, thank God.
And finally, you're welcome. And finally, I think one of the questions we ask ourselves is like, well, obviously, one of the things we see with people playing alts is there's a sense of wanting to rush through to get to the end game as quickly as possible. And why is that? And it's not just a WoW issue, it's something that happens in many other games too. A lot of the time, once you've been to endgame, you realize that a lot of things before then don't matter.
Yeah.
And so why spend your time on things that don't matter when you should rush and get to the things that do?
Yeah.
Well, why does it have to be that way? What if you could begin progressing on your various endgame systems, unlocking powers with your soulbinds and more as you're leveling up? So of course you're still, getting your levels, progressing through that story, getting your character stronger, but the progression that you earn will matter at endgame, and you'll be meaningfully ahead of where you were when you first hit max level on your first character.
Nice. They get us now.
Okay, so back to our max level experience. So we've seen a glimpse of them all when we first arrived in the Shadowlands, and then we'll probably visit it a couple more times over the course of level up, learning a little bit more about it since we have this unique power to go in and out. But at max level, what is the Maw? So the Maw is terrible. It's a fearsome, terrifying place. But we've been to those before. We go to those all the time, right? Like we literally, not too long ago, we were fighting on the homeworld of the Burning Legion in the shadow of their great fortress. And coincidentally, we always manage to find a friendly innkeeper who will sell us water and let us bind our hearthstones. Doesn't matter how evil the place is, there's always that guy with the hearthstone. Not here. We really set out in the Maw, in the outdoor space, to build an environment that matches the fantasy of the space. Where when you go in here, you'll have to have your wits about you. Because it's a place that wants to kill you at every corner.
So if you die, you get like
some lessons
thrown out
from
again.
Revisiting classic spawning and things along those lines. And it's a chance for us to explore some new types of outdoor world gameplay. We're going to have a lot more to say about this at our deep dive panel tomorrow, but I just wanted to tee it up. This is a place that you'll be going to only at max level, and you'll be delving in here to uncover the mysteries of Sylvanas, the Jailer, and much more.
Oh, that's so cool.
At the center of the Maw is this mysterious place called Torghast, Tower of the Damned. Yes, this is the tower that you saw sticking out of the sky above Icecrown Citadel. What does that mean in gameplay terms? I would call this our second major feature after Covenants. Because Torghast is a bit different from anything we've seen before. What Torghast is effectively an endless dungeon. It's ever-changing and defies the laws of reality in a lot of ways. Crafting Torghast,
so good.
We looked for inspiration.
Procedurally generated dungeon.
Games. And what does that mean? It means an environment that changes each time you come
And
there.
you can play solo.
When we create this experience, we want it to be one that you can enter solo or with friends.
So my girlfriend and I
want
could
a
do it
sense of
together,
endgame
just two of
progression
us.
That is meaningful and challenging, that doesn't require bringing a group with you, Torghast is there for you. Of course, if you want to bring your friends with you, don't say no, you can do that too.
And my
As
friend.
You ascend the tower on visits that will change from run to run, from visit to visit, you can earn permanent upgrades that you can take out with you, but also, on the course of your visit, you'll be able to absorb powerful concentrations of anima that massively change and enhance your powers. This is one of the other really fun parts of roguelike gameplay. It allows us to offer huge upgrades, transformative things that make each visit different from the next. You can play to your strength, shore up your weaknesses, and much more. This is the thing we're going to talk a lot more about tomorrow, just teeing it up here. But just a random example of a choice that you may be faced with early on in your journey into Torghast. Let's say you're playing a shaman. You get a source of upgrades. Do you want some, passive damage and healing, which of course everyone wants, or a permanent transformative upgrade to one of your abilities that will last throughout the rest of your journey?
Oh.
A different journey might offer different options and different upgrades. None is going to be quite like the others. The interior of Torghast definitely calls upon the architecture that we saw in Icecrown Citadel and elsewhere, though as you ascend to the higher reaches of the tower, who knows what you're going to find. In addition to Torghast, we have 8 dungeons on offer, 4 for level up, 1 in each zone. Each of these dungeons, of course, comes with the normal modes, Heroic, Mythic, Mythic Plus, with all new affixes coming for each season in Shadowlands, and 4 max level dungeons. One of my favorites I want to call out here is this dungeon called The Other Side, or The Other Side in Ardenweald, which is a pocket dimension, home to none other than everyone's favorite Loa, Wansambi.
Oh!
So he's been quite the trickster, and we've never really known exactly whose side he's on or what he's up to, who he serves. And this is going to give us a chance to explore that. It's a great opportunity to revisit one of our favorite characters coming out of Battle for Azeroth, and of course, he is rooted in the Shadowlands. We also have a 10-boss raid at launch called Castle Nathria.
Oh, it's going to be the vampire theme.
For our dungeon team and our encounter designers, the ask was literally just build Dracula's castle, make it a raid. It's kind of writes itself. It's going to be pretty awesome. Here's an early layout as we're starting to figure out how it's going to flow. You'll come in the main front door of the castle for once you're not coming in through the sewer. And it's a winged raid, so you'll have a choice of descending into the catacombs or exploring the royal quarters, each of which have 3 more bosses. Once you've cleared both of those wings, the upper reaches of the castle will become available as you ascend to the upper spire to face the lord of the castle himself.
Nice.
Okay, so talked a lot about content. Let's talk a little bit about systems. Again, I'm going to touch on some things briefly here that we're going to get into greater detail about tomorrow with the deep dive. But first off, as we've thought about all of these things, our core philosophy, a central pillar, has been we want to increase player agency. We want to give all of you a feeling of more control over your destiny, whether that's in how you play your class, whether that's in how you chase the rewards that you want.
Yeah.
We've heard a lot of your feedback. We've been hearing this for a while, and it hasn't fallen on deaf ears, I promise. I want to give a few examples of how this philosophy is influencing some of our decisions, and we'll have many more to follow. Big expansion systems and the nuances of how loot works, these are things we're going to keep iterating on over the course of development, so I don't have a fully fleshed out answer to provide right now, but I want to give you a direction of how we're thinking. So one simple example first, professions. So right now, if you are a leatherworker or a blacksmith or a tailor and you want to make a pair of legs for yourself to wear using raid materials, you probably have a couple of stats in mind. Let's say you want crit haste pants. And so you're crafting, and whoops, you got mastery versatility pants. And you craft and salvage and craft until you get the ones you want. Why does it have to be that way? What if you could take a crit gem and a haste gem and add them as optional materials to your craft and be guaranteed to get a crafted item with the secondary stats you want? So it's a small example. I realize that's not fixing professions, but we also do very.
It makes it better. It's a step in the right direction.
Relevant in a deeper way at endgame. The weekly loot chest. Okay. Is there any more hated example of RNG in World of Warcraft today? Right?
No.
You've done your Mythic Keystone, you filled your Conquest bar, you go to open this chest, and you're pulling from a loot table that has like 100+ items and hoping that you get the item that you want in the slot that you want with the stats that you want, and hopefully it's sockets and Warforges or even Titan Forges, and then maybe you can wear it. And most of the time, after the first few weeks of a season, you're probably walking away disappointed. And that sucks. Because the point of that is to be a major reward moment. It's a payoff for something that you did in the past week. And because of randomness, that's falling short. And it's an example of randomness gone too far. Randomness can be healthy, but there are places where it really is excessive. We're looking at pulling that back where possible. So what if instead of the loot chest, there was some other device, some contraption that measured the things that you'd done, that had some sense of how many dungeons you'd done, of what difficulty, or what your PvP rating was, or what bosses you'd bonus rolled, and it could instead materialize or create one of a list of items. And instead of clicking the chest and it spitting out a random item, you saw 5 or 6 options to choose among. Yes. And you could pick the one that you wanted most.
Much better. Much better.
So that's the kind of thing we're aiming for, with also some universally relevant fallback option if you don't like any of those items, so that you always at least feel like you made some progress towards some goal instead of walking away disappointed. Legendaries. So, okay, here's the thing. Legion legendaries were super fun. They were exciting items that transformed your gameplay. 99% of the complaints that we heard about Legion legendaries were in how they were obtained. Having the Power Blast bracers was awesome. It made you play differently as a fire mage.
They gave it to you like a toy.
Having Prydas, when the other fire mage in your raid group had the Power Blast bracers, and having nothing you could do to change that, did not feel awesome. So we want to bring legendaries back in Shadowlands, but rather than have them be randomly obtained, we want them to be something that you can work towards actually crafting through your work in Torghast.
Oh, good. Hi, Basin.
You are earning access to legendary powers and then building the legendary that suits your gameplay style, working towards that goal. Then once you accomplish it, picking the next goal you want to work towards and doing so. Last, classes. So this is a
class identity
this is a little bit different
spec
from
identity.
Agency in other ways, but we've moved in the last few years pretty heavily away.
I hate it when I tried to main a feral druid, that anytime I tried to join something, they would ask, balance or feral? And anytime I said feral, I would not join the group because they wanted a balanced druid. So getting this sort of class identity instead of spec identity is going to be a lot better, I think.
Away from broad class identity to a point where an arcane mage and a fire mage may have more that sets them apart than they have in common. And when you all picked the character you wanted to make, whether it was a week ago or 15 years ago, you chose to be a hunter or a rogue or a priest for some specific reason, not a marks hunter or a subtlety rogue or a discipline priest. And increasingly, that's been overly compartmentalized in ways that have restricted your ability to play the class in the way you might want to play the class. So we're going to talk about this a lot tomorrow at our deep dive panel. And this means, in some cases, taking abilities that have become spec-specific and bringing them back to being class-wide. In other cases, it means returning abilities that were taken away altogether. And so, talking about this, so sharing this at length tomorrow at our deep dive panel will be my colleague, Brian Holinka, or as I like to call him, Holinka the Unpruner. Okay, I'm gonna go kind of quickly since too much time left, but leveling.
What about flying? Do we still have to jump through all of Eon's Hops Pathfinder in order to get flying? If so, I will not buy the new expansion. Well, to be honest, I hate that you have to grind. I don't mind that you have to unlock achievements in order to get Pathfinder or, get flying. What I mind is that you have to grind reputation, because apparently reputation is linked to flying. What? So maybe tying up an achievement that is sort of tied together with a storyline or something inside the game that actually unlocks flying, and then you get the achievement and you can now fly around inside the Shadowlands would be a lot better. So, but no, reputation grind is terrible for flying. I don't have reputation for Warlords of Draenor. I don't have it for Legion. I don't have it for BFA. I don't have flying in any of those because I keep switching alts because it's so alt unfriendly. And I have Revere on 2 different characters, and Then I need rust bolt resistance, and it's so annoying. Like, I keep switching. So let's see how this is going to turn out, because there's a picture of a flying mount up here.
So you may notice that I've said max level a whole bunch of times in this presentation. I haven't said a number. And some of you who've made it to our demo may have noticed, what the heck, I'm level 50. You're level 50. So...
Okay, so there's going to be a level switch.
Existing 120 characters are 50, everything's scaled smoothly in between, and you will level from 50 to 60 in the Shadowlands. Why are we doing this? Why these numbers? Ultimately, it's about making the experience better paced. We have hundreds of hours of content that we've built in the game over the last 15 years. We don't want it to take hundreds of hours to get to max level. Please reduce it. We want to speed up the rate at which you level to get into endgame.
Yes.
And give you more freedom and options in how you do that.
Oh,
but
yes.
if you're getting a level literally every 10 minutes along the way, that starts to feel a bit silly. So this number allows us to better match the content that we have that should be experienced on the way to max level, and also get back to a place where every level, every time you fill that bar, gives you something, because this is an RPG, and that's what levels should do.
Wait, so did he just say that leveling was going to be faster, right? So we don't have to grind through level 1 to 120 before we can start. If I want to make an ult for this new expansion, I don't have to go from level 1 to 120, right? It's going to be 1 to level 60, and it's going to be the same speed. They're not going to take the same time it takes to get from 1 to 120 and just squeeze the level squish, but then the amount of level, like the amount of time you need to level 1 level is going to be like extended, because it needs to match the same time it takes from 1 to 120, right? They're not going to do that. They're going to make leveling shorter, because there's so many expansions by now, and there's like the old content doesn't matter. We know the story. If I make an ult, I don't want to. It's a chore getting to max level. I understand having to get to know the class and stuff, but 1 to 120, I know the class by the time I get to level 60. Like, if I got all my abilities there in between those levels, I would have gotten everything to know about my class I needed to. Let's see if they... I didn't quite catch what he meant by that, but he said something about making sure that leveling wasn't as big of a thing, because there's a lot of expansions.
So we also have a brand new player zone to show off some of the best of modern World of Warcraft to new players. And on your alts, we want to give you the option to play through the storyline of any single expansion in its entirety.
Yes!
To get you from 1 to 50. If you want to play through Pandaria...
Oh, I talked about this on stream. I've talked about this on stream so many times. Like Elder Scrolls does it. Elder Scrolls Online. You can play any zone and get from level 1 to like max level in one zone. You don't have to like be forced to play certain content, because if you start playing, let's say, Cataclysm, and you love Cataclysm, you're going to be sticking in Cataclysm for maybe like 2 hours. Then you're forced to jump to the next expansion, Wrath of the Lich King, because you know it's what was that before? I didn't join back then. Let's say Mr. Pandaria to Will as a Draenor, because I was part of that. You can actually finish the entire thing, because I love Mr. Pandaria's storyline, but I can't finish it, because once I hit level 90, I'm being forced to jump over to the next expansion. It's so annoying. It's like leveling system is broken in the game. This is going to fix it. So that means level 10 through 50, I think I mean 1 through 50, will take the same time as 10 levels in any expansion now. Probably. I don't quite catch what you mean by that.
Play through the whole thing, and then go to Shadowlands.
I have been waiting for this feature. I have talked about this feature on stream, and it's the one thing that will fix leveling.
A different type of agency. Agency of self-expression. Want to talk a little bit about visual character customization, character appearances. Right? Like, everyone here, you have this powerful connection to your WoW character. I've seen people spend way too long messing with hairstyles, picking the exact look, the exact facial expression, because that's your avatar in the game. That's your connection to the world.
And we have like nothing to choose from. We have some default facial styles and none of them look like me. I want to look like me in the game, but none of them do.
We always want to do better there. We always want to increase the fidelity. We want to give more options. And so in recent expansions, we've done things like add allied races or improve the combat animations. This time around, our focus is on improving the customization that's available to the original World of Warcraft races.
Good.
Now, what I want to share with you, I'm going to share with you a few examples of our work in progress from a few WoW races. But the idea here is just to give more options than ever before so that you can actually look and feel like you want to feel and different from the others around you who play the exact same race. So let's take a look at some of what's in store. Trolls. So,
oh, look at that.
So for trolls, we want to give you options for different skin colors, hairstyles, tusk shapes, piercing.
Okay, I'm just going to say it right now. The one biggest flaw the trolls has is, first of all, they can't stand upright. I don't know if this means that you can actually start standing upright with the male trolls. I hope you can. The second thing is that when you choose certain races, they just have, for example, the Night Elves. There's a fixed amount of colored hair you can choose from, but you can't just choose a default, let's say, black or brown hair color. There's only like, you know, purple or blue or white with purple in it. Like it's silly. With this, I love the fact that you can change your skin colors. It's going to like really make character customization so much more fun.
Body paint, tattoos, and also amazing things like the ability to set your eye color different from the look of your face.
I was 1 second away from saying, I was looking at their eyes saying, I hate the fact that when you change eye color in the game, you also need to change your facial structure.
Because, I don't know, it's 2020, the technology is finally there. What can I say?
Oh my God.
Dwarves. So.
Oh, look at that.
Similarly, you want some, you want that wild hammer look, go for it. Different skin colors, hair colors, and more.
Oh, I love it.
Maybe you play an undead, a Forsaken.
Oh, that's so cool. Look at that. You can choose to not have like a bone sticking out if you want to. Like, there's so many options there.
And
new
you
hairstyles.
Don't want all of your bony parts sticking out of your flesh. Or maybe you do. Up to you. And last but certainly not least in my examples, humans. Perhaps.
And you can be every single race and gender.
Perhaps you play a human in World of Warcraft.
Let's not get into that.
You could
but
play a character that looks
any
and
race.
feels a little bit more like you. We agree.
Still no new dances like they announced in Lich King new features. That's 11 years ago now.
And so this is the tip of the iceberg.
It would be cool if you could choose a dance specific.
And this is something really that's an endless process of improvement for us, but this is a first step. Finally, one more small thing. I mentioned earlier that Bolvar and his Death Knights are very important to this battle that awaits us.
Oh, the new Death Knight races.
So what better time to bolster the ranks of Death Knights than now? So in Shadowlands, everyone can be a Death Knight. Pandaren, Kultiran, Zandalari, Mechanome, Volpera, go nuts.
That's going to change
all I got
things.
For now. Thank you so much for joining me on this whirlwind tour of Shadowlands.
So every single race?
Tomorrow.
That's so cool. So tomorrow, he says, is going to be today. There's going to be some new information today. That is awesome. That is so much, like, I have ranted on streams for the past many weeks now. And I have all the things that I've complained about, they have addressed in this short presentation here. They are going to be fixing stuff that is just, not just like breaking stuff in terms of like the newest expansion, features that are not working there, but also things that are not working when it comes to like the fundamentals of the game, like leveling up a new character from 1 to, well, now level 60. Like they're gonna fix the whole thing. So like all the really like broken things, like not being able to stick to one expansion. If I want to complete Wrath of the Lich King, I should be allowed to complete Wrath of the Lich King instead of starting the expansion and then in like, because I got heirlooms and stuff, so I'll level faster instead of like staying in one expansion for about 2 hours before I have to go to the next one. Like, so I'm missing out on some story here. So this is going to be so much better. So much better. And it's just like mind-blowing how much things they've actually taken, like trying to fix. Not just a new expansion. Like it's a crap ton of information about things they think is wrong with the current game from before BFA and so on. So this is going to be like complete game changer with this game. Like it's like you know how you have MMOs and they all have certain things that are just like flawed about them. Like they do, like some MMOs do certain things really well, and then other MMOs do certain other things really well. But they all have something that is wrong with them. Whereas all my major complaints when it comes to the World of Warcraft, they are trying to fix in this expansion here. Not just with the expansion, but with new features added in for like, what has been going on in the past. Like player customization is like greatly improved now, or at least will be greatly improved if they get the system up and running. And it's just going to fix how you see your character as well. Because a lot of people, I've seen people who join the game, they create a character and they call him, I don't know, something like the Destroyer 2000 or something. I know you can't add numbers behind it, but you sort of get the idea. They have no personal relationship to their characters. But other people like me or my girlfriend do have personal relations to our character. And when we go into the character customization and we can't make a character that looks like ourselves, or if we're forced to like create our character within the default few options that we have to choose from, it feels like we're making another person that we're playing with. We're not creating ourselves in the game, and it's just going to fix so many things. So I think this is going to be like the best expansion ever in this game. I know I was not part of the expansions like before Mr. Pandaria, and I know I wasn't really a great part of Mr. Pandaria, but this is going to be something that just completely puts the World of Warcraft, like if it was like here in like what it did well and it had like bad things and stuff, they have amped it up to here. Like it's going to like fix so many things about the game. I think that's pretty much what we had for today. I don't think there's going to be anything in terms of reveals or anything till later today or tomorrow. So we'll have to see. I'll do another stream tomorrow if there's some new information about the game. So thanks for sticking with the live stream. I see there's quite a few people here. I'm going to grab some lunch and I'm going to do a little bit of editing because I have to edit a video for today for the other channel. I have another channel, by the way. And then I will maybe return a little bit later with some live streaming. So thanks for watching and have a good one. You too, Kenny.